They say love sees past physical flaws, but apparently mine needed glasses. 2 years, that's how long I spent building what I thought was the love of my life. 2 years of planning futures, sharing dreams, and believing that Melissa and I were meant to be together forever. I'm Trevor, and I'm about to tell you how the most important question I ever planned to ask became the answer that changed everything. I'm 5'6". Not tall, not short by some standards, but apparently not enough for the woman I thought I'd marry. I'd always been self-conscious about my height, especially since Melissa was 5'8" in heels, but she never made me feel small. At least I thought she never did. The proposal had been months in the planning. I'd saved every penny from my job at the marketing firm, researching rings, locations, timing. I wanted everything perfect. Melissa had been dropping hints about marriage for months, talking about her friends' weddings, pointing out rings in store windows, even joking about what our kids would look like. I chose Antonio's, the Italian restaurant where we had our first date. I'd arranged with the manager to have our usual corner table, the one with the view of the city lights. The ring sat in my jacket pocket like a small, expensive weight against my chest, a 2-carat princess cut that cost me 3 months' salary. "This is nice," Melissa said as we settled into our seats. She looked stunning in a black dress I'd never seen before, her blonde hair perfectly styled. "What's the occasion? Can't I just want to celebrate us?" I replied, my heart already hammering. The plan was to wait until dessert, make it romantic, maybe even get down on one knee like in the movies. Dinner conversation flowed normally at first. She talked about work drama at her law firm. I shared updates about the Peterson campaign we'd just landed. But I noticed she seemed distracted, checking her phone more than usual. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah, just Chloe's having issues with her wedding planner." Chloe was her younger sister, getting married in 3 months. Melissa had been helping with preparations, and it had consumed most of her free time lately. As we finished our main courses, my nerves were reaching peak intensity. I'd rehearsed the speech 100 times in the mirror. I touched the ring box through my jacket, gathering courage. "Melissa," I began, my voice steadier than I felt. "These past 2 years have been the best of my life." She looked up from her phone, and I caught something in her expression, not the soft attention I'd hoped for, but something that looked almost like dread. "Trevor, we need to talk." 4 words that could stop any man's heart. I felt the bottom drop out of my stomach, but I pressed on. Maybe she was nervous too, maybe she could sense what was coming. "I love you," I continued, reaching into my jacket. "I want to spend the rest of my life making you happy, building a future together." "Stop." Her voice was sharp, urgent. "Just stop." I froze with my hand on the ring box. Around us, the restaurant continued its romantic ambience, soft jazz, dim lighting, other couples lost in their own worlds. But our little corner had become a pocket of tension. "What's wrong?" I asked, though part of me already knew I didn't want the answer. Melissa took a shaky breath, looking everywhere but at me. "This isn't working, Trevor. Whatever this is, I don't understand." My hand was still on the ring box, gripping it like a lifeline. "Things have been great. Just last week you were talking about visiting my parents for Christmas." I was being polite. The words came out flat, emotionless. "Look, you're a nice guy, you're sweet, you're stable, you make decent money," but she trailed off, and in that pause I heard my future crumbling. "But what? I can't marry you, Trevor. I can't be with someone like you long-term." "Someone like?" My voice came out smaller than I intended. "You know what I mean." "No, I don't. Explain it to me." She glanced around the restaurant as if checking for witnesses to what she was about to say. "You're short, Trevor, like really short, and I know that sounds shallow, but I can't help how I feel." The words hit me like a physical blow. I'd worried about this moment my entire dating life, but hearing it from her, from the woman I'd planned to propose to, was devastating. "I'm 5'6", I managed. "Exactly, I'm taller than you in heels. Do you know how that looks? My friends have been asking me about it for months. How do you date someone shorter than you? Doesn't it bother you?" And honestly, it does. I sat there, stunned. The ring box felt like lead in my pocket. "I thought we were past that," I whispered. "I tried to be, I really did. But I keep thinking about our wedding photos, about our kids potentially being short, about having to explain to people why I'm with someone who looks like he could be my little brother." Each word was a knife, but what came next was worse. "Besides," she continued, her voice gaining confidence as if she'd been rehearsing this speech too, "I need someone who can be a real partner. Someone who commands respect. Height matters in the professional world, Trevor. Look at every successful CEO, every politician, every leader. They're tall, they have presence." "I have presence," I said weakly. "You have to stand on your toes to kiss me goodnight." The cruelty in her voice was something I'd never heard before. This wasn't the woman who used to call me her perfect match. This wasn't the woman who said she loved how safe she felt in my arms. "So this is it?" I asked. 2 years, and it comes down to 3 inches. "It's not just the height, Trevor. It's what it represents. I need someone who can be a provider, a protector, someone other people look up to, literally and figuratively." What she didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that my phone had been recording our entire conversation. Developed the habit months earlier when dealing with difficult clients at work. Our company had been dealing with some legal issues around verbal agreements, so I'd started recording important conversations to protect myself. My phone sat on the table between us, innocuously positioned next to my water glass, capturing every cruel word. "I see," I said quietly, pulling my hand away from the ring box. "What now?" "Now we end this amicably. We can stay friends maybe, but I can't keep pretending this is going somewhere. I nodded slowly, my mind reeling. 2 years of my life, 3 months' salary on a ring, and it all came down to genetics I couldn't control. There's someone else, I said. It wasn't a question. Her pause told me everything. This isn't about someone else, but there is someone else. Trevor, who is it? Another pause. It doesn't matter. It does to me. Fine. If you must know, I've been talking to someone I met through work, but that's not why. How long? It's not what you think. How long, Melissa? A few weeks, maybe a month. A month. While I was planning our engagement, she was already planning our ending. Is he tall? I asked, surprising myself with the bitterness in my voice. That's not the point. How tall? 6'2". Of course he was. We sat in silence for several minutes. Around us, the restaurant continued its romantic atmosphere, oblivious to the devastation playing out at table 7. I should go, she finally said, reaching for her purse. Yeah, you should. She stood, then hesitated. Trevor, I'm sorry, I really am. I tried to make this work, but I can't fight how I feel. No, I said, still sitting, still staring at the table. You can't. After she left, I sat there for another hour, nursing a whiskey and trying to process what had just happened. The ring box remained in my pocket, a 2-carat reminder of how wrong I could be about someone. 3 days later, Chloe called me. Trevor, it's Chloe, Melissa's sister. I know this is weird, but I need to ask you something about the wedding. Melissa's sister and I had always gotten along well. She was 2 years younger, married to a guy named Brandon, and they'd always seemed to genuinely like me. What about it? Were you planning to propose to Melissa? She's been acting really strange, and Brandon swears he saw a ring box in your jacket at Mom's birthday last month. I considered lying, but what was the point? I was Tuesday night, actually. Oh no, what happened? She ended things, said she couldn't marry someone my height. The silence on the other end stretched so long I thought she'd hung up. Are you serious? Chloe finally said, dead serious. That's God, Trevor, I'm so sorry. That's horrible. It is what it is. No, it's not. That's my sister being a shallow, awful person, and I can't believe she stopped herself. Look, I have to ask, do you still have the recording? What recording? Melissa mentioned you sometimes record conversations for work. Did you record Tuesday night? I glanced at my phone. The audio file was still there, 43 minutes of what I'd thought would be the best night of my life. I do. Would you be willing to share it with the family? Not for revenge or anything, but because we need to know who she really is. This guy she's dating, he's going to be at the wedding. He's going to meet our whole family, and they deserve to know the truth about why you two broke up. I thought about it for a long time. Part of me wanted to delete the recording to try to preserve whatever dignity remained from our relationship. But a larger part of me was tired of being diminished, tired of being made to feel less than because of something I couldn't control. I'll send it to you, I said. Thank you, and Trevor, for what it's worth, you dodged a bullet. Anyone who would throw away 2 years over 3 inches of height isn't worth marrying. I sent the recording that night along with a brief explanation of what had happened. I didn't ask what they planned to do with it, and Chloe didn't say. 2 weeks later, at Chloe's wedding reception, I got my answer. I hadn't planned to attend. The invitation was addressed to both of us, sent before the breakup, and going alone felt like torture. But Chloe personally called and asked me to come. Please, Trevor, your family to us, breakup or not. Besides, there's something you need to see. The wedding was beautiful, a garden ceremony followed by a reception at the country club. Melissa was there, of course, wearing a blue dress and accompanied by her new boyfriend. He was indeed tall, probably 6'2", as she'd said, with the kind of broad shoulders and confident posture that screamed success. I watched them during cocktail hour, noting how she looked up at him with the same adoring expression she'd once given me. They made a striking couple, I had to admit. The kind of couple that looked right together in photos. During dinner, Chloe's husband Brandon stood to give a speech about love, commitment, and the importance of seeing people for who they truly are rather than surface appearances. As he spoke, I noticed several family members glancing in my direction, their expressions sympathetic. Then came the moment I'll never forget. Before we continue with more formal toasts, Brandon continued, Chloe and I want to share something with you all. Recently we learned something that shocked us about the nature of true character, and we think it's important for everyone to hear. Melissa's face went white. She looked around frantically as if searching for an escape route. Sometimes the people we think we know best surprise us, Brandon said, pulling out his phone. Sometimes their true values come out in ways we never expected. So we'd like to play a recording that demonstrates the difference between loving someone for who they are versus loving them for how they look. The audio quality was crystal clear through the reception hall sound system. Every word of our breakup conversation played for 200 guests, family, friends, colleagues, and business associates. Melissa's voice filled the room. You're short, Trevor, like really short. And I know that sounds shallow, but I can't help how I feel. Gasps rippled through the audience. I watched faces turn in our direction, some confused, others horrified as they realized what they were hearing. I need someone who can be a real partner, someone who commands respect. Height matters in the professional world, Trevor. By the time the recording reached her comment about standing on toes to kiss goodnight, Melissa had grabbed her purse and was heading for the exit, her tall boyfriend trailing behind her with a look of complete confusion. The recording ended and the reception hall fell silent. Brandon cleared his throat. Trevor couldn't be here tonight to defend himself, he lied smoothly, but we thought it was important for everyone to know the truth about why their relationship ended. Because this is what real love looks like. It sees past the superficial and values the person underneath. The applause started slowly, then built to a thunderous ovation. Person after person approached me throughout the evening, offering support, sharing their own stories of shallow relationships, and expressing their disgust at Melissa's behavior. Her parents were mortified. Her grandmother, a tiny woman of 85, grabbed my hand and said, "Honey, any woman who'd throw away a good man over a few inches doesn't deserve happiness." The best part, Melissa's tall boyfriend broke up with her the following week. According to Chloe, he'd been horrified by the recording and realized he was dating someone whose values didn't align with his own. 3 months later, I met Elena at a coffee shop. She's 5'4", works as a pediatric nurse, and when I told her about Melissa, she laughed and said, "Well, that's her loss. I happen to think you're the perfect height for hugs. We've been together 8 months now, and I'm planning another proposal, this time with confidence that height won't be an issue." As for Melissa, I heard through mutual friends that she's still single, still looking for her tall, successful Prince Charming. I hope she finds him. But more than that, I hope she learns that real love isn't measured in inches. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is how big someone's heart is, not how high their head reaches. And mine's bigger now than it ever was when I was trying to measure up to someone else's shallow standards.